Hi, I'm Nikki Butler and I'm a scar specialist. I work with women who have scars that really impact their lives. It may be that those scars are causing them a lot of emotional trauma or stopping them showing up in the way that they really want to. So they're making decisions and life choices around keeping their scars hidden rather than just going out there and embracing life. I've been there myself. I have multiple scars, and some of you may have read the blog that I wrote about my forehead scar. So I had a nasty childhood accident and ended up with significant facial scarring at the age of 11. So I learned to live with very visible scarring from a young age, and with that came a lot of difficult emotions growing up, not just being conscious, very self-conscious of my scarring, but also how cruel youngsters and teenagers can be when you look different and when you have some visible scars. I then went on and had multiple surgeries for various things. I've had around 14 surgeries. So I have a lot of scars on my body. Some are very visible, some not so much. And so I really understand how those kind of thoughts and emotions and feelings and stories that we tell ourselves have such a big impact on how our scars affect our lives. And I think about some of the words that I have associated and do associate with my scars, and they're really changeable and really variable. There are some days that I can feel really confident in my skin and I can feel incredibly proud that I have overcome some nasty injury, some very difficult and painful surgeries, and I've come out the other side and I'm here to fight another day. And there's a real strength that I can draw from that. And at other times I can feel incredibly insecure. I can feel judged, I can feel very vulnerable, and I worry what other people might think or what they might be assuming about some of the scars that they can see. And then it's also quite difficult when people just ask you outright. And, sometimes I don't want to rehash or relive those difficult moments and talk about some things that are incredibly painful for me. Some of the words I'd associate with my scars are even guilt, shame, embarrassment. I don't want people to see my scars. I don't want them to make certain assumptions about me. I don't want a conversation about how I got them. And so I really empathise if you are in that position. I think it's really important that if you're having scar improvement treatments, that we also look at some of those stories and feelings and emotions that are attached to your scars. Having worked with hundreds, if not into the thousands now, of clients over the years, I know that some of those stories and feelings are really big and they're really painful. And what I'd encourage you to do is think about that and have some support in place to try and help you move forward. Now, if you're working with me, I am very happy to support you through that journey. I am not a qualified talking therapist or psychiatrist, but I have lived with scars for a long time, and I can empathise and support and listen to the journey that you're going through. If you would like to work with talking therapists, please let me know, because I know some amazing specialists that would be able to support you. I think what we can look at is reframing some of the stories and emotions that we have around scars. And just because this is how we feel in a given moment doesn't mean that this is how we will always feel. Sometimes we've been sort of almost hardwired through years of living with trauma and pain. And when there are difficult stories, we can almost subconsciously create a life that protects us. So I'll give you an example. I hated going on some holidays. I wouldn't go anywhere where I couldn't wear makeup because I didn't want anybody to see my facial scarring. I didn't want to have to explain the facial scarring. I didn't want to feel judged. I didn't want to feel unattractive, ultimately. And equally, going on holiday, I've got a lot of scarring on my body and my knee. And it's always amazed me how many people would ask me about my scars. And I would come up with stories like shark bite, but ultimately just want to get away from somebody and think, why do you feel like you can ask me? And then I think turning those feelings of sort of insecurity and the views that we might have about ourselves, I think that some of my scars are ugly. And I told myself that I was unique, like nobody else had scars like me. And then I read an article from Bristol University about a survey that they did in 2019 in the UK. And what they recorded, so bearing in mind this is what they recorded, it won't even be a fully accurate figure, but 20.3 million people in the UK have scars. I mean, that's extensive, that's incredible. And so when I had that knowledge, I started to think, wow, that's not just me that has that scarring. And so then if I was walking along at the beach or if I was out somewhere, I would notice other people's scars, not to judge them, not to compare my scars, but I felt a belonging. I felt like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Other people have got scars, they're living with scars, they're living with the pain and trauma. And somehow that was comforting, that was soothing to me. And I think if you start to kind of put things into a different context and understand that you're not the only one with scars and other people have their insecurities and their feelings and their thoughts, there's a feeling of being united in that. And I think that social media is very difficult when we look at kind of some of the feelings and thoughts that we have around scars. And I certainly feel that when I think about how I felt ugly with my scars. And that's because social media very much thrusts flawless perfection and beauty on us. You know, you look on social media platforms or in the magazine, everybody is flawless and beautiful. The reality is their scars might be airbrushed, their scars might be covered with makeup, but it's thrust on us that perfection is something to be celebrated. And that's something I feel quite strongly about challenging. So looking at emotions and stories and being able to change the narrative and change how we feel about that is so much a part of that scar transformation journey. So I just wanted to share some of that with you because I hope that that gives you some hope that you can move forward. How I feel about my scars now is very different than how I felt about them maybe 10 years ago, and certainly as a teenager, how I felt about some of my facial scarring. So we'll work through those feelings, those emotions, those stories, and that all becomes part of your transformation. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I really look forward to hearing from you.